Before I joined Thin Within, my life was a major obsession about food. Even though my weight has been high, it's been low, it's been anywhere in between. I was either gaining weight or losing weight. I was never in a stable pattern ever. I had about 4 sizes of clothes in my closet, and that was because from day to day I literally would not know whether the largest would fit or the medium or the smallest would fit. So it was no fun. And before Thin Within, I didn't know there was any way out of that. I'd been on every diet. Every time I'd get a woman's magazine, I would follow the diet, and my mom would give me diets, friends would give me diets, and I could stick with them for a while, but nothing ever lasted before. My top weight was 243 pounds, but that was unofficial. I stopped weighing after 243, so it was probably a lot higher. But at that point, that was what my weight was. And it had been as low as 120 pounds, which for me is pretty anorexic, but it never stayed at 120, it never stayed at 243. I was either going up or coming down. With Thin Within, I released 40 pounds. I've kept that weight off for approximately 7 years, and I'm now working to release the rest of the weight. With the hunger scale, I thought it sounded really odd that a number would come to my mind. Either I was at a 0, which meant I was starving, or I was at a 10, which meant I just had Thanksgiving dinner with my family. And I didn't have a clue how that would work. I'd never been hungry probably in my entire life except when I was born. And the thought of waiting until my stomach growled or I felt empty or some type of sensation like that, it just was very foreign to me. And so I tried it. The very first night of the seminar, Judy said, wait for hunger. And I thought, what does hunger look like? What does it feel like? So I waited for a growl. That's all I could think to do. So I waited, and I waited, and I waited, because I'd eaten a ton of food before going to the seminar, afraid I'd never be able to eat again. So it took a long time. But finally I felt a growl, and I thought, my goodness, I think I'm actually hungry. So Judy suggested that we get little amounts of food and try little bites and just have a little bit and then stop and wait for a few minutes to see if I was reaching fullness or not. So I did that, and it became like a game that first night. And I went to bed that night still a little hungry, and I thought, I don't think I could do that, but I just did it. And I was very shocked by that. Now, after all these years, I know exactly, a number pops into my head. I can say, oh yes, I'm at a 6, I'm at a 5. It's not a mystery to me how it works. It just took time and practice and observance. And one thing Judy always said was to observe and correct. Had many times where I've messed up, taken a step back, and I thought, observe and correct, observe and correct. I'm not a bad person. God doesn't love me any less because I ate too much that night. So the next night, my goal would be, okay, for dinner, I ate a lot more than I needed. What can I do tonight to make that better? And that's been a huge, huge part of my success. Before Thin Within, my relationship with God was more like an angry older parent, that I had to be extra good or do something right or perfect because God wasn't going to love me if I wasn't just so. And I always thought that God really only helped people in major problems, like if you had cancer or some terrible thing going on in your life, that you couldn't pray to God and ask Him for help in the little things. And I learned through Thin Within that that was just exactly the right time to start praying for help. When I'm not hungry and I'm standing at the refrigerator door and I'm opening the door and I'm just staring at it as though Brad Pitt were inside and nothing's happening. And that was when Judy told us, pray, ask God to help. So I'd shut the refrigerator door, step back and say, God, I really need your help. I cannot resist whatever it was in the refrigerator. I cannot resist it right now, and I need your help. Some nights I would go for a walk. Some nights I would read. Some nights, well, my favorite's to take a bath because it's hard to eat in the bathtub. Some nights I would just go and call somebody, and it really helped. I was very desperate to change, and I think that is what enabled me to make those prayers, because I kept thinking, God, why do you care about what I eat? Don't you care more about war somewhere or famine? And here I am, I'm overfed, I'm not starving to death. Why would you care? But God does care. And a lot of times someone would call me, Someone would knock on my door just when I'm getting into the danger zone and would rescue me. And God does that. He's rescued me many times, I'm ashamed to say.